The Tour de France, French pronunciation Tour de France, English Tour of France, is an annual men's multiple-stage bicycle race held primarily in France. It is the oldest of the three Grand Tours, the Tour, the Giro d'Italia, and the Vuelta a España, and is generally considered the most prestigious. The Tour de France was created in 1903. The roots of the Tour de France trace back to the emergence of two rival sports newspapers in the country. On one hand was Le Vélo, the first and the largest daily sports newspaper in France, which sold 80,000 copies a day. On the other was L'Auto, which had been set up by journalists and business people including Comte Jules Albert de Dion, Adolphe Clément, and Edouard Michelin in 1899. The rival paper emerged following disagreements over the Dreyfus affair, a cause célèbre in which the anti-Dreyfusard de Dion was implicated that divided France at the end of the 19th century over the innocence of Alfred Dreyfus, a French army officer convicted, though later exonerated, of selling military secrets to the Germans. The new newspaper appointed Henri de Grange as the editor. He was a prominent cyclist and owner with Victor Godet of the Velodrome at the Parc des Princes. De Dion knew him through his cycling reputation, through the books and cycling articles that he had written, and through press articles he had written for the Clement Tire Company. L'Auto was not the success its backers wanted. Stagnating sales lower than the rival it was intended to surpass led to a crisis meeting on 20th of November 1902 on the middle floor of L'Auto's office at 10 Rue du Faubourg Montmartre, Paris. The last to speak was the most junior there, the chief cycling journalist, a 26-year-old named Gilles Lefebvre. Desgrange had poached him from Gifford's paper. Lefebvre suggested a 6-day race of the sort popular on the track but all around France. Long-distance cycle races were a popular means to sell more newspapers, but nothing of the length that Lefebvre suggested had been attempted. If it succeeded, it would help L'Auto match its rival and perhaps put it out of business. It could, as Desgrange said, nail Gifford's beak shut. Desgrange and Lefebvre discussed it after lunch. Desgrange was doubtful, but the paper's financial director, Victor Godet, was enthusiastic. He handed Desgrange the keys to the company safe and said, "Take whatever you need." L'Auto announced the race on 19th of January 1903. First Tour de France. The first Tour de France was staged in 1903. The plan was a 5-stage race from 31 May to 5th July, starting in Paris and stopping in Lyon, Marseille, Bordeaux, and Nantes before returning to Paris. Toulouse was added later to break the long haul across southern France from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. Stages would go through the night and finish next afternoon, with rest days before riders set off again. But this proved too daunting and the costs too great for most, and only 15 competitors had entered. Desgrange had never been wholly convinced, and he came close to dropping the idea. Instead, he cut the length to 19 days, changed the dates to 1 to 19 July, and offered a daily allowance to those who averaged at least 20 kilometers per hour, 12 mph, on all the stages, equivalent to what a rider would have expected to earn each day had he worked in a factory. He also cut the entry fee from 20 to 10 francs and set the first prize at 12,000 francs and the prize for each day's winner at 3,000 francs. The winner would thereby win 6 times what most workers earned in a year. That attracted between 60 and 80 entrants. The higher number may have included serious inquiries and some who dropped out. Among them not just professionals but amateurs, some unemployed and some simply adventurous. Desgrange seems not to have forgotten the Dreyfus affair that launched his race and raised the passions of his backers. He announced his new race on the 1st of July 1903 by citing the writer Émile Zola, whose open letter J'accuse led to Dreyfus's acquittal, establishing the florid style he used henceforth. The first Tour de France started almost outside the Café Réveil Matin at the junction of the Melun and Corbeil roads in the village of Montgeron. It was waved away by the starter, Georges Abrin, at 3:16 p.m. on 1st July 1903. L'Auto hadn't featured the race on its front page that morning. Among the competitors were the eventual winner, Maurice Garin, his well-built rival Hippolyte Aucouturier, the German favorite Joseph Fischer, and a collection of adventurers, including one competing as Samson. Many riders dropped out of the race after completing the initial stages, as the physical effort the tour required was just too much. Only a mere 24 entrants remained at the end of the 4th stage. The race finished on the edge of Paris at Ville d'Avray, outside the Restaurant du Père Otto before a ceremonial ride into Paris and several laps of the Parc des Princes. Garin dominated the race, winning the first and last 2 stages at 25.68 kilometers per hour, 15.96 mph. The last rider, Arsène Milaud, finished 64H 47-meter 22s behind him. Lauto's mission was accomplished as circulation of the publication doubled throughout the race, making the race something much larger than Desgrange had ever hoped for. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the next video you want to see.